Is doubt the enemy of faith or our friend? Does it send us down a wide road that leads to destruction or a narrow path that leads to life? Today is the last video on the legacy series, and we're going to wind it up with your legacy of a faith walk. And that doesn't always mean that there's not doubt involved, whether you're contemplating faith, in the middle of it, or been there a while. Sometimes we have doubt, and we're going to discuss that also with powerful steps to help increase and improve your faith walk, and how this applies to the legacy series that we've been doing. Your legacy isn't just for the future, even though that is a legacy that you want to leave for others. It's also for now, as you go about your life, wherever you're at, having that faith walk, hopefully helping it develop a mind at peace, better focus. We're going to get into some media articles, some scripture, some bonus content, and at the end there's always a prize. And once again, I'm Nurse Ann. I'm a certified emergency, a mental health registered nurse on the front lines for many years and still going. And we're about to finish up this legacy series. But don't be sad, because then we're going to get into a series about life and mental and mind and thought transformation, a transformation series, so that what happened in your past or mistakes that you've regretted don't have to define your future. So we've already finished the legacy I just did, and you can see these in order at the podcast, Patreon, and YouTube channel at my website. You can see that in the description, nurseann.com, and that is Ann with an E. We just finished your legacy of energized health. Do you want energized health for body, mind, and spirit? Then we did, before that, your legacy of leadership by example and service. Just a better way to view and do leadership. And you don't just have to, this leadership doesn't just apply to work, it's also in your family, in your community, whoever you're around. We did a legacy of your gifts, discovering, releasing your gifts in the world, your legacy of overcoming thought patterns, strongholds, addictions, bad habits. And we did your legacy of your superpower of authenticity. Sometimes it can be hard to be authentic in a world full of filters, poses, and masks, people trying to push you into a so-called box. So we discover more about figuring out and releasing, jumping out of those boxes, your superpower of authenticity. Your legacy of peace, and also being a peacemaker with boundaries. That was very interesting. We also did your legacy of self-worth. It touches on learning more self-worth, because it starts with you. It's hard to leave a legacy that ripples onto others until we work on ourselves. We also did, are you a truth teller? Are you? Your legacy of helping others win. That is so rewarding in life, and such a beautiful thing to do, is help others win. Your legacy of wisdom. We also did your legacy of kindness. I think there's more. You can see those all at the website. So let's jump into this. As I said, I'm Nurse Ann. Please follow, like, share, and leave your comments. Is doubt the enemy of faith or our friend? And that's from the site Westside. Do you ever struggle with either your faith now, or whether you even want to go on that journey? And they told us that they believe that doubt is the beginning of faith, not the end of it. We make room to explore our questions and doubts alongside of each other. We can create that environment of mutual wonder and curiosity that leads to personal and collective growth in faith journeys. And they describe there's 4 stages of it: simplicity, complexity, perplexity, and harmony. That we can lean into our questions and doubts and let go of beliefs that no longer serve you or others well. And as I said, that was interesting take on it. Faith Through Doubt from Westside Presbyterian Church site. So we're going to jump onto some more, but today we're going to think of ways to develop a more beneficial faith walk for yourself that can also spill onto your other relationships, and also for that long-term legacy, hoping that others will want to discover their own faith walk, even if you or they have doubts. It's important also to incorporate rest, drawing closer to our faith, and it helps us on the mental, physical, and spiritual. And I really like some of these verses that we're going to use today. We'll jump into that in a second, but let's go to this one: 4 powerful steps to strengthen your faith and connect with God's will. And that was on a site called Family Life Radio. But before we do that, I was also encouraged on the June 8th podcast by Dr. Charles Stanley at the In Touch Ministries. He actually, while I was thinking about this came up, so it must be relevant. It's called The Stages of Our Faith. And we're told that he asks us, are we staying at the lowest level or growing in our faith? And that's a question we always want to ask, even when we struggle with certain doubts. And number 1, he described is little faith or restless faith. And sometimes that makes us say that we're starting in the faith, so I know that God can, but I'm not sure if he will. We're trying to believe, I can, I can't, we're not sure. And he reminds us it's very important that the key word on a faith walk, and for most things in life, the key word is focus. And we can focus on God, and that gives us peace in the storms, in the decisions, in the doubts of life. Focus. I know that he can. And number 2, he described as great faith. That's the next step where we have maturing, growing faith. Are you maturing in your life? Standing on the truth of the word, not our feelings, others' opinions, or the past. So always remain focused on God, the one who never changes. And he gave an example from Matthew 8:5, where the centurion says, just say the word. You don't have to come there. If you just say the word, I know it's going to happen. And then God told him back, I've never seen such great faith. We can stay in the word and relate it to our situations. And number 3, he talked about in this podcast was perfect faith, where we can begin to look at our obstacles with our focus. Once again, that focus on God. And just say, even in times of struggle, that it's done, that we're going to trust him and know that he will do something. And our hearts, spirits, and minds can get to that point where we know it's done and have trust. Even though being patient, we can thank him and praise him while waiting, while being expectant, while anticipating. We can pray, wait, and trust. Remember that key word is focus, where our focus is in our equals our faith building and maturing in our faith in our life. And that can bring us joy and peace to help us make better decisions, help us when the storms come in all aspects of life. And he also reminded it's good to ask with a clean heart and surrendering our life and ask in the will, his will, then we can have that trust and peace. And I like that. Reminds me of the verse, leave it in the comments where it's from. I don't have it in front of me. You will keep him or her, you will keep them in perfect peace whose mind is stayed on God. So our focus is really important. It determines whether we're going to feel worried, afraid, or full of doubt all the time. So we're going to go over some of the media. Then we'll get to the bonus content from my self-published devotionals. And at the end, there's always a prize with the quick, short, action-packed chapter from my published fictional drama, where you get to ride along with the frontline workers attempting to rescue those in crisis of mental, physical, and spiritual. So much action adventure along with that advocacy and awareness. So this one is 4 powerful steps to strengthen your faith, connect with God's will, from the Life Radio site. And they start with a quote from Watchman Nee that says, a Christian should know more about the operation of his spirit, than about the activity of the mind. And his statement is a powerful reminder that our spiritual nature should be at the forefront of our thoughts and actions. We're called to walk by faith and not by sight, relying on his spirit to guide us in all that we do. In order to achieve this goal, it takes action on your part, my part, to pay attention to our spirit, which means we have to spend that quiet time, that prayer, that introspection first, and develop that and prioritize our spiritual development over the activities of our mind. And Paul reminded us in the book of Romans, for those that live according to the flesh, set their minds on the things of the flesh, but those who live according to the Spirit, set their minds on the things of the Spirit, Romans 8:5. And Paul points directly to the importance of aligning your thoughts and actions with the promptings of the Spirit, instead of taking the easy, effortless path of allowing your mind to be influenced and led around by just so many things going on in the world. And it doesn't mean we neglect our mind entirely. God gifted us with our intellect and capacity for a reason. And when you use it in the service, especially with the Spirit, it can be a powerful tool for understanding and applying His word to your life. And also Proverbs 3:5, I love this one. It's a life verse, reminds us that we're cautioned to always be careful not to rely solely on our own understanding, but to trust in Him with all of our heart and lean not on our own understanding. How can we go about doing this? And they give us 4 key points. Number 1, regularly spend time in prayer and meditation, because they're powerful ways to connect with God on that faith walk and the Spirit, allow Him to speak to our heart, and making time for these practice on a regular basis can help us stay, here's that word again, focused on our faith walk or spiritual development and discern the promptings. Even though we're told that Jesus often withdrew to those solitary places to pray, we see Him taking a step often in the Gospels, taking time out, stepping away from His followers and into quiet places to pray, spending entire nights in prayer, teaching others, His disciples, to prayer. His prayer life was an essential part of His ministry and relied on it to seek guidance and strength from God. So we can't do this on our own. We need that downtime, that quiet time, that introspection to listen and pray. And some practical ideas to help you prioritize your time with God in prayer. Schedule a specific time each day for prayer and meditation. You could wake up a little earlier to pray before starting your day. Take a few minutes to pray before a meal, not just over your food. Spending quiet time in prayer before bed. You can also use media and content. In your quiet time, you want to cultivate awareness of the Spirit's presence in your life. Contemplative prayer involves silent and focused reflection aimed at fostering a deeper connection with God. The emphasis is on being rather than doing. We can get caught up in life and just always being on a treadmill, thinking that we have to always do something to get results. But this focuses on reflection and just being still and quiet, letting go of our thoughts, worries, and distractions, and instead pursue an inner stillness and openness that brings a direct and intimate experience with God. And unlike other forms of prayer that involve words or requests, contemplative prayer seeks to transcend language and concepts, and it's often characterized by silence, solitude, and an attitude of receptivity. Through sustained practice, you can develop a heightened sense of awareness and spiritual insight. I like this verse too, a couple of them. Habakkuk 2:20 reminds us that God is present in our midst and encourages us to be still and listen for His voice. God's in His holy temple. Therefore, let all the earth be silent before Him. Prayer is also a place for regular self-examination, that self-respect, introspection. It can help you become more aware of the ways in which your thoughts, feelings, and behaviors align or don't align with His will. You can take that time to reflect on your actions and attitudes and identify areas in which we need to grow and seek God's help in making changes. In 2 Corinthians 13 reminds us, examine yourselves to see whether you're in the faith. We need to regularly test ourselves. Let this encourage you to examine yourself to see if you're living in accordance with your faith and make adjustments as God leads you. And worship can be a part of your quiet time, different forms of worship. You can connect to God. It can be music, talking, shouting, singing, dancing. And then another one, spending time in nature is a powerful way to connect with God and nurture your spirit. Psalm 19:1 says, the heavens proclaim the glory of God. The skies display His craftsmanship. God's creation testifies to His glory and invites us to marvel at His handiwork. having that wonder and that peace, quiet, and downtime. Spiritual direction is a form of guidance and support that can help you deepen your relationship with God and discern His will for your life. And you can work with your faith community and spiritual leaders. And number 2, consistently study and apply God's word. Number 3, engage in your faith community, which can help you to prioritize and also be accountable to each other. 4, seek to serve others, loving our neighbors as ourselves and serving others is an important way to put that love into action. It helps us to demonstrate our love and grow in our faith walk and our spiritual maturity. And we can pay attention to the needs around us and build relationships while we do that. And I like this verse in Isaiah 26:3 that I think I said at the beginning, but I didn't see the whole thing. You'll keep him in perfect peace. He'll keep you in perfect peace when your mind is steadfast, stayed on him because they trust in him. And it suggests that God will keep people in perfect peace if their minds are focused on him and if they trust in him. The verse also implies that the degree of tranquility a person experiences is determined by whether their mind is focused on God or themselves or their problems. So once again, that focus. And we're going to jump onto some of the bonus content, but I do want to go to, I just like the Beatitudes, and it just really beautiful of something else to think about when we're contemplating whether we have doubts, whether we want to start a faith walk or wherever we're at. It's always a good reminder. So we're going to do that, and then we'll get on to the bonus content and the prize. Please follow, like, share, leave your comments. And the Beatitudes is in Matthew 5. And they start in verse 3. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they will be shown mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God. Blessed are those who are persecuted because of righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. And blessed are you when people insult you, persecute you, and falsely say all kinds of things against you because of me. You can rejoice and be glad, because great is your reward in heaven. So Beatitudes in Matthew 5. There's a lot of commentaries, books, and studies. You can even find that online. If you're not that familiar, or if you want to get to know more about the Beatitudes, it's really helpful to help you look at some important characteristics that's going to help you in your life and on your faith walk. So I invite you to check out the Beatitudes. And now we're going to jump onto some bonus content from my self-published devotionals. And I invite you to look into self-publishing also. It's free, it's easy, and even if your books don't sell a lot, it helps you put your thoughts, your creativity out into the world. And if you want to know how I did that, it's so easy. Just leave it in the comments. So these aren't mine, but I'm going to just show you these really quick because they were really helpful. One is a classic. It's a really old book, but it's a classic. You may have heard it, For My Utmost for His Highest by Oswald Chambers. It has daily devotionals that include relevance, impact, and power. It really helps, these devotionals help you think, even if you're having doubts, to challenge your assumptions, to help you develop a faith that's real. This book really hits hard, really, really makes you think deeply, and helps change the trajectory of your thoughts in your life. So once again, Oswald Chambers, My Utmost for His Highest. And then this is also an older book that's also a classic that someone recommended, and it's called They Found the Secret, and it's about the exchanged life. And I feel like 20 transformed lives that reveal a touch of eternity. So just in the title, I feel like that kind of introduces us or causes us to want to go deeper into a life of faith. They found the secret. The faith walk truly is your secret to life. We look around and so many things, possessions, ideas, they might be always clamoring for our attention, duping us into thinking they're what's best. Sometimes they give a quick dopamine reward that's not always long and satisfying. So they found the secret. This book will really take you into a deeper faith walk. And in chapter 1 by Hudson Taylor, The Exchange Life, I'm just going to read you a couple sentences. I like this one. The human heart has no desires that God cannot satisfy. The human heart has no desires that God cannot satisfy. Once again, they found the secret. So let's check out some of my self-published devotionals. You can also see them at the website, link on the website. The first one is Word Puzzles Devotional. I try to find interesting and unique words and link them to everyday life struggles. Also included relevant biblical prescriptions for you to get your dose of wisdom and inspiration. And as you have heard before, there's also in here medicine for your soul. The one I chose to do today is temporal, which means worldly, material, or non-spiritual. At some point, we might realize our possessions can leave a hole of dissatisfaction. Is there something in your life that's leaving a hole of dissatisfaction? Chasing after another experience might seem exciting in the moment, but after we settle back into our usual routine, we might sense the gnawing hunger again for something or someone to make us complete. Those things and pursuits do not have the capacity to live up to this great longing. The longing of our souls is found in God alone. No substitutions will do. The psalmist declared in chapter 119, verse 81, that the longing of his soul was salvation and his hope was the word of God. Have you tried everyone and everything and still feel a missing link? Have you? Look no further. God is knocking on the door of your heart, knocking on the door of your heart to be your everything. Once again, from my Word Puzzles devotional. And now from my Inspiration Battles devotional, Biblical Medicine for Real Life and Soul Searching with a dose of encouragement, because I know the battle to stay inspired is overwhelming at times. And once again, it helps us do that soul searching, that prayer, that introspection that we all need, those quiet times in searching our lives. And today I chose quietness. Noise is everywhere. Blaring TVs, bass pumping music, incessant conversations and podcasts about everything can be listened to 24/7. But what can we hear in the silence? Does that seem like an odd question? Or can you envision having space to hear softly chirping birds, gentle lapping waves, or perhaps the soft but audible whisper of heavenly guidance? Yes, part of your faith walk is having those quiet times of prayer, reading, and introspection so we can hear what God's trying to tell us for our faith walk and the direction of our life. Groups can clamor for having the next word, and drivers can angrily honk as they whiz by to rush to their destination before we realize that our lives can be an endless stream of duties and loudness. Scheduling downtime is vital to avoid burnout from the unceasing busyness. However, if we neglect to seek this quiet time, we may feel the hand of God imposing it for us to show us something more substantial. Being led to still waters and walking in ways of gentleness will only lead to refreshing and inspiration. As we come out of our times of devotion and tranquility, we'll realize that we didn't miss anything of more value than our Sabbath quiet time. And that's quietness from my Inspiration Battles devotional. I also did one from the letter F. This is an A to Z devotional. Fountain. Oh, to have a life of ebullience. And I did the word ebullience on the last video. Oh, to have a life of ebullience, a life characterized by joy that bubbles up and spills on to others. And in your legacy of a faith walk, hopefully what you learn and glean will bubble up and spill on to others. That's what a legacy is all about. as we go and for the future. Shiny things, hype, lights and sounds can seem to offer fleeting excitement. These pursuits can provide a temporary fix of so-called joy. But can these band-aid fixes compare to the scriptural definition of the joy of the Lord? Or does God offer something deeper and more life-sustaining? We've all probably spent long lost money and time chasing the elusive mirage of happiness. But a closer look at happiness reveals an existence that comes and goes based on the current circumstances we find ourselves in. Yes, happiness is based on circumstances, but peace and joy are based on something deeper and longer lasting. On the contrary, real, lasting, true joy comes from being in the will of the Lord and knowing that He is in control of everything. What life pursuit can you recall that produced only a temporary feeling of delight? As I said, that quick dopamine fix is that temporary feeling of delight that usually leads you back on a negative cycle. But what life pursuit can you recall that produced only a temporary feeling of delight, but eventually ended up devoid of satisfaction? Leave that in the comments if you like. The great news is that we can all stop striving today. Instead, we're invited to let God infuse your being with His presence of true joy. That is perpetual. Little nature here for you. If you allow this heavenly process in your life, you can expect hope, and revitalization for yourself and others that are fortunate enough to come into contact with you. So hurry and don't delay to immerse yourself under the fountain of His grace. And look these verses up. I don't know what they say right now, but they inspired this. Nehemiah 8:10 and John 7:38, probably about living waters spilling over. And then from my mental healing poetry devotional, everyone get a drink of water. Mental Healing Poetry Devotional by Nurse Ann, link on the website. And we discuss life challenges along with God-ordained courage and healing to help us turn away from mindsets controlled by fear, to give you inspiration to step into your true destiny of a faith walk and purpose-driven path. And I also did one in here called Quietness. I'm not going to read it all. You can see it on the... Actually, I think I will, because quietness and stillness are very important as we go about that faith walk. Noise, clamor versus calmness, silence. Always a battle raging between the two. It makes our minds confused, so we don't know what to do. The Lord, He beckons, leads us to a place of calm. Beside still waters are worries to lay down. Would you like to lay your worries down? This invitation, it's an invitation, this leading to rest, can clarify our life and show us what's best. Take a moment, an hour, perhaps a day. Turn off the external so you can hear the true way. This place of abundance is calling you near. A deeper life, a blessing awaits you here. And the devotional reminds us that God wants to quiet us in His love. Our senses can be bombarded with podcasts, music, construction noises, and angry associates. As you know, the list is endless. I pray that you'll find moments of quietness and stillness throughout your hectic days. And when you have extra time, you can spend quiet moments in the presence of the Lord and allow Him to build into your soul reserves of peace to guide you through moments of loudness and chaos. Peace and stillness are possible. And Psalm 23 reminds us, God is our shepherd. We don't have to always want. He's going to make us lie down in green pastures, lead us beside still waters, restoring our soul. Do you want your soul to be restored? That's part of your faith walk. So I hope that you, whatever doubts you may have or troubles, that you'll dig into that. And Energize Health, Body, Mind, and Spirit, also by Nurse Ann. I just touched on the books that we already went over. The book that blessed me was They Found the Secret by Raymond Edmond. And in the classic, we meet many great and dedicated people whose personalities and circumstances were completely different, yet who shared a common treasure. The secret to abundant and spirit-filled living. In Psalm 46:10 reminds us we can be still and know and relax because God truly is in charge. And then the book, My Utmost for His Highest by Oswald Chambers. You will be delightfully challenged to rethink your past and thoughts toward higher pursuits. So a lot of books blessed me on this path. Another one was An Unhurried Life, Following Jesus' Rhythms of Work and Rest by Alan Fadling. It gives us spiritual practices for unhurrying. And some of the main ideas remind us to set apart that time with God and not always have our own agenda, but just to be quiet so He can actually speak to us, to be still and listen, and to make sure we're giving thanks to Him for the people and things in our life. And then there's my Ignite Life Poetry Devotional, the newest. There's a lot of serious situations that people go through across the world, a poem and then a devotional for encouragement along with awareness. So now we're going to do the bonus and the prize so you can go. And remember, this is the last video on the Legacy series. I hope you check them all out. They're really going to enrich and bless your life. And then we'll start on the next series about life, mind, mental transformation so we don't get stuck. All right, I'll stop playing with the flowers. So in my free time, I created a 6-part drama series that highlights the struggles that people go through in mental health and emergency. You also meet frontline workers of doctors, nurses, paramedics, police, caseworkers, also the church, the community, the families, and see the struggles that people go through. Also, you're going to get to ride along with the same frontline workers throughout each book is a different episode. It's written to be a television drama series. And there's lots of action adventure in here, along with danger, romance, suspense, faith, and inspiration. So we finished book 1, A Sheep Among Wolves. We finished book 2, Dr. John Doe. We've just finished book 3, A Tent Under the Bridge. Now we're in book 4, Defenders of the Weak. We're talking about bullying and anxiety. Then we're going to do Ready, Willing, and Able. And the season finale is Out of Control. It's a very exciting, so I put it in one book to make it easier for you. The Mental Falls First 6 Stories edition by Nurse Ann. Link on the website. As you said, you get to ride along with these frontline workers rescuing those in crisis of mental, physical, and spiritual. The shifts are 24/7, so you have to buckle up for this compelling ride filled with, as I said, danger, action, suspense, romance, faith, and inspiration. I hope you ride along on the book club, link on the website. And to make it easier, because we don't all have time to read, including myself, it's on audiobook narrated by Drama Simpson. I'm going to show you the cover on Audible and iTunes. He brought it to life with siren noises, different character, lots of action. You're going to feel like you're right there. Hope you check it out. The Mental Falls First 6 Stories edition on Audible and iTunes by Nurse Ann. So let's get to the bonus and the prize. And then the next time we'll start our brand new series about life and mind transformation. Do you need transformation? We all do. So this is chapter 9, Monday Motivation. Nurse Angela returned to work Monday morning with a spring in her step. Being a part of the workday to help others on Saturday was energizing, and she still felt encouraged after hanging out with her friends on Sunday and being able to participate in the message delivered. And of course, the budding relationship with Jonathan didn't hurt. So many blessings. She was motivated to share the inspiration with her patients. She longed for them to find peace and comfort, some joy in their lives. After the morning shift report and checking on the room, she started her morning rounds and patient assessments. "Hello, are you Chandra?" she asked the young woman who was writing something in a journal in her room. "Yes, that's me. I'm back in the hospital, Nurse Angela," was the reply. "I thought your name looked familiar. How are you doing today?" the nurse asked as she started her assessment. Chandra had always liked the caring attitude of this nurse. She felt comfortable sharing her heart. The college student relayed the problem she had with bullies. She wondered if she would ever be able to have more confidence in herself. She also confessed that she thought she might be letting her parents down. After excitingly sharing some of her poems and blog writings with Angela, she finalized by stating, "Writing and trying to help others is my passion, but I guess I need to shut the blog down for a while until the bullies fade away." Do you have bullies in your life? Have you been a bully? After listening patiently and finishing her assessment, Angela did her best to offer hope and encouragement. I hope you encourage others also. "Chandra, these poems are so insightful. Writing is therapeutic. I hope you don't consider putting it aside," she mentioned. "I agree. I feel better after pouring out my heart on paper. Maybe I'll continue the poems. But if people are just going to continue to make fun of me, I guess I'll take my blog offline," added Chandra. No matter your age or situation in life, your age or station in life, whether in grade school, high school, on a job, there's always going to be people who want to bring you down, advised the experienced nurse. Why do you think people do that? Why do you think people want to try to bring others down? Leave that in the comments. Surprised that the medical professional was soliciting her opinion, Chandra thought for a moment before she answered. "I've heard that people who are hurting end up hurting others, maybe because of their own frustration and or low self-esteem." "That's true," replied Angela. "And didn't you say you wanted to help others who were feeling bad?" "I never looked at it like that. I guess I've just been focused on how I feel in the moment. That's a lot to think about." "Wow, thanks, Nurse Angela. Maybe I can hone my blog towards really listening and finding out why others are hurting," replied the young lady. "I really appreciate the encouragement. You always seem to have it together and so peaceful. I wish I had that outlook." "I don't really think any of us actually have it completely together," Angela replied with a giggle. "But that's okay. We're all learning from life and growing, just like our faith walk." "Also, I've always been encouraged by someone named the Apostle Paul. He said in a letter he wrote that it was possible to achieve the peace that passed all understanding." "Oh yeah, I've heard that verse," added Chandra. "Didn't he write that from a prison cell or something?" "I was very involved in my youth group, but since I started college, I've gotten away from church and Bible study." As the nurse continued to listen and offer reassurance, she heard her coworkers talking. "Has anybody seen Angela?" one of them asked. "Oh yeah, she's spending all of her time with Chandra. Sounds like she's preaching again," replied the med nurse. After overhearing her coworkers, Angela thanked Chandra for her time and prepared to continue her rounds on the unit. On the way out, she encouraged Chandra to find out if there were any support groups and or ministries she could be involved with on her campus. "Thanks, I will definitely look into that," answered the formerly anxious and depressed patient as she sat down to write a new kind of entry for her blog, one that would show concern for others no matter how they talked about her. And the next chapter is chapter 10, Newsworthy. So I'll see you on the next podcast. We just finished the Legacy series. There's so much for you to go back and check out. And then we're going to start on Life and Mind Transformation. See you, follow, like, share. Hope you have a blessed day.